Kidnappers get caught by cannibals and eaten alive. A gang of 4 kidnaps a girl, planning to hold her for ransom, but their situation takes a horrifying turn when they become lost in a dense jungle. As they struggle to find their way out, they are captured by a group of cannibals who have sinister plans of their own. Will they be able to survive and escape, or will they become the next meal for the cannibals? Strap in, movie enthusiasts, it's recap time. Today, we will be diving into the story of the horror thriller film ButchersBookTwo Raghorn from the year 2024. So, let's start. The movie begins with an injured girl running through a jungle, bleeding, while someone chases her. Suddenly, she crashes into a man named Crusher, who grabs her by the face and drags her back. A man named Clyde is sitting and watching something inappropriate on TV. Crusher throws the girl in front of him. Clyde asks if she was trying to escape, and then tells Crusher to take her outside and cut her into pieces. In the next scene, a car is driving with 4 people inside. 2 men, Brian and Ricky, are in the front seats, while a woman named Sarah and a boy named Josh are in the back. The driver, Brian, says the car is out of gas, so they need to stop at the next gas station. Brian stops at the gas station and tells Ricky to get out and fill the tank with $10 worth of gas. Josh, sitting in the back, says he needs to use the bathroom, and Sarah goes with him. Brian notices a sheriff talking to a man named Wilbur outside the station. The sheriff is talking to Wilbur about the hot day, and how the cicadas are out in full force. He then asks Wilbur about his wife, and Wilbur explains that she passed away from cancer last month. The sheriff expresses his condolences. Meanwhile, Sarah and Josh exit the restroom, and the sheriff starts talking to them. Brian, watching from the car, becomes worried and grips his gun. When Sarah and Josh return to the car, Brian asks what the sheriff was saying. They tell him it was just small talk, as cops often do. Later, Sarah mentions that the sheriff asked where they were going. Josh says he casually told the sheriff they were heading to Spencerville, just a couple of miles down the road. Ricky then asks Brian where they're going, and Brian angrily reminds him not to use names. Brian starts yelling about why the sheriff was even there, and blames Josh, accusing him of always attracting cops. Confused, Josh asks what's wrong with Brian, and tells Sarah that she needs to get her boyfriend to calm down. Brian turns around again, and shouts that no names should be mentioned. At that moment, Brian loses control of the car and crashes into an elk. They all get out of the car, but Brian is the most seriously injured. The elk's antler has pierced through the windshield and into Brian's stomach. They try to pull the antler out, but the elk is too heavy, causing Brian to bleed even more. Ricky approaches Brian and asks where they are going, promising to save him. Brian refuses to reveal their destination, accusing Ricky of plotting to kill him and being involved with his girlfriend, Sarah. Ricky pulls out a gun, but Brian still refuses to tell. Despite Sarah's desperate pleas, Ricky shoots Brian in the face. Sarah tells Ricky that she had nothing to do with Brian, but that only he knew their destination. She then asks Ricky to check Brian's body for any clues. They find a number on him, but realize they don't have a phone. Suddenly, they see a car approaching. They ask for help, requesting to be taken to the nearest place where they can call an ambulance. The driver gets out, assesses the situation, and says his car can only fit 2 people, so one of them will have to stay behind. Josh volunteers to stay behind. The man examines Brian closely and asks if they've called the police, noting that the situation looks worse than just an accident. Ricky tightens his grip on the gun, and Josh starts to worry that Ricky will kill the man too. Josh begs the man to take them to the nearest station, but Ricky shoots him in the chest. As Ricky prepares to shoot again, Josh stops him, reminding him of the rule against killing. The wounded man manages to run back to his car and drive away. They then open the car trunk, revealing a girl with a bag over her head. Josh tries to reassure her that they won't hurt her, but Ricky cruelly pushes her out of the trunk, and they begin walking. Sarah asks Ricky where they're going, but he only tells her to follow him. Meanwhile, the wounded man drives a short distance before succumbing to his injuries. Wilbur discovers the body, checks the ID, and immediately calls the sheriff. When the sheriff arrives, the radio broadcasts news about a kidnapped girl, with the suspects described as 4 people, ranging in age from teens to middle-aged, traveling in a car. Wilbur tells the sheriff that the description sounds familiar, as they encountered such people earlier. The sheriff agrees and instructs Wilbur to stay at the scene until his deputy arrives. The sheriff then sets off to find the suspects. Meanwhile, the kidnapped girl, who is walking with Josh, suddenly hurts her foot. Josh kneels down, takes off his socks, and gives them to her to wear. As they continue walking, Ricky becomes irritated with Josh's behavior and says he's had enough and is going to shoot Josh. Sarah pleads with him not to, reminding Ricky that Josh is her cousin. Ricky coldly tells her that she should only care about herself. Just as Ricky is about to shoot Josh, Clyde appears and shoots Ricky instead. Sarah quickly thanks Clyde and pretends that she and Josh were kidnapped and being forced to go somewhere. But Clyde isn't fooled. He tells her to shut up, saying he knows what they are up to. Clyde takes Josh and Sarah with him. When Josh asks about the kidnapped girl, Clyde tells him she will be brought to them later. He then shackles Sarah and Josh by their arms and feet and leads them back to the accident site. At the site, Clyde orders Josh to cut off the elk's head, which Josh does reluctantly. Clyde then instructs Josh and Sarah to pull the elk's antlers out of Brian's body and to bring them along. Clyde warns Sarah that if she tries to run, she'll die, reminding her that he easily killed Ricky from a distance of 5 yards, even though Ricky wasn't shackled. Meanwhile, Crusher catches the girl and brings her back to the house. The sheriff arrives at the accident site and examines the scene. He calls the office to report that he has found the car they were looking for. He describes the situation. An elk's antler likely went through the windshield, but the cause of death was a point-blank gunshot to the face. He notes that there is no sign of anyone else, including the kidnapped girl, and that the elk's head was also taken. The sheriff informs them that he's going to follow the blood trail. Clyde tells Josh to take the elk's head to Crusher, while he takes Sarah to the kitchen. He forces her to sit down and offers her lemonade. Sarah, not trusting Clyde, refuses to drink, saying she doesn't accept drinks from strangers. Clyde admits that he hasn't properly introduced himself and offers a handshake. When Sarah shakes his hand, he suddenly punches her in the lips and orders her to drink the lemonade. Sarah tries to bargain with Clyde, telling him that the kidnapped girl is from a wealthy family and that he could get at least $250,000 for her ransom. She suggests that he keep the girl and let her and Josh go. Clyde refuses her offer. When Clyde turns toward the fridge, Sarah seizes the opportunity, grabs a gun, and tries to shoot him, but the gun is out of bullets. Clyde calmly tells her that the gun has been out of ammo for a while. Sarah faints. After taking the elk's head from Josh, Crusher hits him on the head, causing Josh to faint. Clyde then approaches the kidnapped girl, telling her that she's pretty and that he doesn't want to hurt something so pretty. He instructs her to do whatever Crusher tells her, assuring her that Crusher won't do anything without his permission. The girl nods, and Clyde calls for Crusher to take her to the shed. Clyde then goes outside and hangs Sarah from a tree. He ties up Josh in a room and tells Sarah that while he usually cuts up the meat after killing people, he'll do it while she's still alive because she's different. He starts recording a video. Sarah asks why he's doing this, and Clyde replies that not everything needs a reason. He then stabs Sarah and goes to see Josh. Josh asks about his cousin Sarah, but Clyde tells him not to worry about her, adding that she was planning to leave him behind anyway. He warns Josh that his fate will be even worse than hers. He brutally starts to cut Josh's genitalia. Meanwhile, the girl in the shed somehow manages to free herself and follows the sounds of Josh's screams. She picks up the gun, loads it with bullets, and puts some extra bullets in her pocket. She goes inside and frees Josh by pointing the gun at Clyde. Josh checks on Sarah and finds that she's still alive. The girl tells them to move quickly. As they try to escape, Clyde suddenly grabs Josh, threatening to kill him. Despite Sarah urging the girl to shoot, she hesitates, and Clyde kills Josh. Sarah then grabs the gun and shoots Clyde herself. Afterward, she turns the gun on the girl, demanding that she keep walking because she still wants the ransom money. Suddenly, the sheriff arrives and shoots Sarah. He then orders the girl to take him back to the house where she was being held. The girl wants to go home, but the sheriff forces her to comply. When they reach the house, Crusher is still inside. The sheriff shackles the girl and goes to find Crusher. While the sheriff is searching outside, Crusher appears and kills him. During the chaos, the girl manages to escape from the shackles and grabs a knife. Clyde, who is somehow still alive, comes after her again, but she stabs him in the head, finally killing him. She then shoots Crusher, but he doesn't die and chases her into the jungle. She runs until she reaches the accident site, where police cars have already arrived. The police rescue her, while Crusher retreats into the jungle. I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching and see you next time.